everyone. Welcome back. I'm happy to announce that it is time for the Pauly Throws Pre-Classic Preview. This year's 50th edition of the Prefontaine Classic is going to be one of the best throws meets you're ever going to see outside of a world championships or Olympics. It's men's and women's hammer, men's and women's disc, men's and women's shot. Jav throwers are kind of getting screwed. But in the three throws we do have, the fields top to bottom are simply ungodly stacked. Like, you got Ryan Krauser scratched, but I believe other than him, you have the Olympic champion in all 5 of the other events, which is a pretty nuts thing to happen. You've got a lot of the podium, and yeah, it's going to be so much fun to watch. It's Saturday, July 5th in Eugene, Oregon. I believe the first throwing event will be at like 11:30-ish, noon Eastern time. And it's once it gets started, it's just straight, really, really good throws all the way through to the end of the meet. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. Let's get into it. We're going to start with the first event on the schedule, which is men's hammer. And it's the first time in like a month we're going to see Ethan Katzberg throw. So that makes me a happy guy. But Katzberg, it's interesting this year because he's obviously been really good. Like, he has the world lead at, 82.70 or something he threw at Kip Kano, which is almost a meter better than anyone else in the world. But it has felt a little different this year. And obviously he hasn't had the 84 meter throw he had at this point last year. And he's still the best in the world. He's still an obvious favorite for Tokyo and for this competition. But it does feel a little different where it's not partially with the way he's been throwing this year, which has still been insanely good, but mostly because of how well everyone else has been throwing this year, that there's just a tiny bit of intrigue and oh, this is actually going to be a competitive meet when you look at Mykhaylo Kokhan, who's going to be coming in here fresh off his 81.66 PB from the European Team Championships. And anytime these guys do battle, it's just really fun to watch. And so I'm excited for them. And yeah, they're probably going to be the top 2. But then you've got, for the American side, you've got Rudy Winkler and Danny Ha, who are going to be looking to defend their home turf. Obviously, Rudy's thrown really well at Hayward in the past. So that's exciting. And Rudy's been having a good season. Danny's been, kind of building as the season's gone along. I think his season's best is 77 something right now, maybe, which pretty good, but we know he's thrown a little further in the past. So this is going to be a good, it's kind of the competition and the field, especially now a month out from USA's at the same venue where USA's is going to be. It's a good one for him to get a really strong mark, I think, and kind of stake a claim. But maybe the most interesting prospect that I'm looking at here is Tarek Robinson O'Hagan is in this field. And he's never been, I think he's thrown at Drake relays before in the professional flights. But aside from trials, which obviously this is a meet with Mykhaylo Kokhan and Ethan Katzberg, that's a step up from US trials. He hasn't really been in a field of this quality. And the one thing about Tarek, especially from what we've seen in the hammer, is he always steps it up when it's needed. His last competition a month ago, he threw a PB in this same ring at NCAA's, a meter plus PB, to finish 3rd in the best NCAA hammer field of all time. So I'm definitely excited to see what Tarek's going to be capable of this weekend because, I said in This Week in Throws yesterday that I think he's probably the favorite to get that 3rd spot to Worlds for the U.S., just behind Rudy and Danny. And this is a excellent spot. It's kind of surprising that there's not I guess not really that surprising necessarily, but with assuming if you assume Rudy and Danny are gonna be 1-2, a lot of the Americans that Tark's gonna be battling with for that 3rd spot aren't in this competition. So, it's kind of if he can really make a statement here, like, I think he threw what, 77, 76, 78, I think, at NCAAs. Like, in this kind of field, I think he can probably break 77, and then just the sky's the limit for him from there. So I'm really excited to see what Tarek is gonna be capable of this weekend. One person I'm definitely gonna be kinda keeping an eye on in this field, though, is Wojciech Nowitzki of Poland. He's been one of the best in the world for so long, but this year really hasn't looked like himself. I think from his Instagram, what I've picked up kinda stalking there, I believe he was dealing with an injury in the off season, kinda the early parts of this year, and that's still impacting him clearly. I think he's thrown twice this year, and it's been, like, 70 and, like, 72 or something, so really hasn't been a pretty season for him, but he hasn't thrown in about a month and a half now, so, like, I assume if that was because he's hurt, I assume he wouldn't be on the entry list still now 2 days out from the competition, so I assume that means he's feeling good, and this is the kind of field that is gonna I think could push someone who's as seasoned of a competitor as he is. Um, if there's gonna be one where he kinda breaks out, stakes his claim that, like, he's still here, he's still a contender with the 5 or 6 other guys in the world that have thrown 80 this year, I think this is probably gonna be the weekend to do it, so I'm kind of excited to see what Wojciech will be able to do. Men's discus is next on the schedule, and this one, oh boy. So, I feel like Mykhaylo Alekna has probably had Ralford Mullings's face, like, on a dartboard for the last 3 weeks. And now they're coming back to the same spot where they showed that where they faced off for the NCAA title about 3 weeks ago now, and I think there's gonna be some sparks that fly. 'Cause Mykolas, his the thing he was saying in the mix zone, and the thing that I talked a little bit with Coach Mo about. Also, Mykhaylo Alekna is an Oregon Duck. I feel like that has to be said again. He's now gonna be throwing in what will be his home stadium next year, and he's now gonna be working with Brian Blutrich, which is awesome. So that's really exciting. But Mykolas, basically, when I talked to him a little bit, he was like something about early to mid-June, like something maybe in his training cycle, like that just doesn't work for him. Because you've seen in NCAAs the 3 years he's competed there, and then at Euros last year. Um, but he's thrown really well in early July historically. So I'm excited, especially if he's got a little chip on his shoulder now. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do coming back to Hayward this time around. And Ralford's coming off a pretty comfortable win at Jamaican Championships last week where he threw like 65 something, so he's still in good shape. Then you've also got Roger Stona, the Olympic champion, who is maybe whose face was on Mykolas's dartboard prior to NCAAs. So Roger's had a solid season, but I think his season's best is like 67 maybe from his opener, thrown a couple times over in Europe. But this is the first time he's going to be competing since transferring allegiance to Turkey. So that's kind of an interesting, I guess, kind of shading to this competition. But I just spent a couple minutes talking about Alekna and Mullings and Stona. Don't forget the guy who's, out of all of them, been looking the best recently, and that's Daniel Stahl. The 2023 world champion is in this field coming back to Hayward. And, I mean, he's thrown 70 plus twice in the last, like, 2.5 weeks. He's had another 69 in there. He's had a 68 in there, I believe. Like, he's rolling on all cylinders. Some of the best form we've seen him in over the last couple years. Again, I've talked about it at length, but it's so nice to see him really bounce back from 2024 and like he looks so good. And so honestly, I think it's gonna be Mykhaylo and Daniel kind of battling for the top spot here this weekend. But then the Americans in this field, kind of some interesting storylines there. I mean, realistically, they'll probably finish in the final 3 positions, I'd think. But Andrew Evans, Reggie Jagers, and Sam Mattis are all in this field. Sam, obviously, second best throw in American history, may kind of like not technically, but kind of an American record in Ramona. He's thrown well in the European circuit so far, but nothing too like eye-popping. Andrew Evans is kind of just getting his season rolling, but has looked really good. And then Reggie's had some strong throws mixed in there with some other not so great performances. And so those 3 guys, like that could very well be the US team headed to Tokyo. I think it's going to be good for them to kind of get some experience. I mean, all the Americans have a lot of experience in Hayward already, whether it's like through college or through US champs or worlds in 2022. But I think it's going to be kind of a good test run for them to get some experience this year in that ring going up against each other. And so I'm going to be keeping an eye on, like I said, they'll probably be finishing towards the back of the field. But I think the position they end up finishing is definitely going to be something to watch. I will say, I really wish Maddie Denny or Christian Che were in this field, but I think we've got a couple more Diamond Leagues, I believe, over in Europe before we get to Worlds, so we should see some of them there. So I'm excited about that. Top to bottom, the women's hammer field is probably the best of. Genuinely, it might be the entire meet, not just the throws. Out of every single event at the pre-classic, this women's hammer field is potentially the best in the event's history. And I'd say definitely the best of the meet because you've got 5 Americans: Brooke Anderson, Annette Chickenwoke, Janae Casanovoid, Deanna Price, Rachel Richardson, and then 2 international athletes. And those 2 athletes are the GOAT, Anita Wlodarczyk, and potentially the future GOAT, Cameron Rogers. So this field is just insane. The worst, going off of PB, the worst thrower in the field is an Olympic silver medalist who's thrown 75-48. That's wild. You've got the world record holder. You've got 2 Olympic champions, 4 world champions. Rachel Richardson, who's having a breakout year and is now number 5 on the all-time list. Janae Casanovoid, who's a 2-time global medalist. Like, this is everything you could possibly dream of. When you look at their body of work for this year, Cameron Rogers has been throwing really well. She's super consistent. I believe she's only lost once. That's to be expected. Brooke Anderson has had, I think she's had like 1 not so great meet, but I think she also has the 2 best throws in the world this year. So she's still just maybe more boom or bust than you'd hope she would be at this point in her career, but like when she booms, she booms. Deanna Price has been putting together a really strong season with a couple great marks. Most recently, 76 mid at Ironwood this past weekend. Janae Casanovoid had that big throw in Tucson, has been putting together a solid season herself. Like I said, Rachel Richardson has had that breakout where she threw the 78-80 in her season opener in Ramona. She's backed up. I think she threw 76 in Tucson, but she's been dealing with some foul issues recently. 2 of her past 4 competitions, she's no marked. And then she's had the 2 competitions she has gotten marks down in, have had a couple fouls mixed in there. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on, especially considering how cursed USA's was last year. Like, fouls can kill you. So that's something that Rachel's got to kind of reel in. Hopefully this week can be a good step towards that. And then Annette is, like I said, she has the worst PB in the field. And so she's never necessarily going to come out there with like super ridiculous marks or anything. I mean, 75-48, which I think is what her PB is crazy. but she's just going to be consistent. She's been consistent this year in that like 72 high to 73 mid range. And she's, I think, building her season really well, and she knows how to peak when it's needed. We saw that at trials last year. We saw that at the Olympics last year. And I'm excited to see, like, maybe with this pressure in this field where it's not necessarily like a spot to world is on the line, but it's obviously a really big deal. I think we're going to see a net PB this weekend. I'm excited to see that. I think she can break 76. Like, genuinely, I think this, okay, 75 plus for Anita might be a bit rich. I think Anita can maybe throw like 74 or something, which is it's just a testament to how good this field is. That you have like the world record holder, 3-time Olympic champion, the absolute best women's hammer thrower in history, and you're like, yeah, I think she's probably gonna get last in this 7-woman field. Like, yeah, she is almost turning 40, but still, that's a crazy thing to say. But yeah, I mean, I think there's no reason we can't see the top 3 over 78 in this field. There's no reason we can't see the top 6 over 76. Like, this is the kind of field that can produce marks like that. And I can't wait to see how the competition actually shakes out. The chase for 21 meters is officially on this year at the Pre-Classic in the women's shot put. Chase Jackson, fresh off throwing 20.95 in the first round to take the win at Ironwood. Sarah Mitton, who might have come either very close or thrown further than 21 meters at the Diamond League final last year with a tiny, tiny foot foul. And then Jessica Schilder, who's been putting together the best season of her career. So Sarah's coming into this fresh off 2035 in her first competition in like a month and a half at a small meet in Canada. Jessica's coming into this one fresh off, I think, 2016 at the European Team Championships. And this is the first time these 3 women have gone head to head to head since the Shanghai Diamond League, I believe, on May 3rd. So it's been over 2 months since they've clashed, and they've all gotten better since then. And I'm just like it's gotta happen. It feels like if any place is gonna happen, it's gonna be at Hayward. Chase's her previous American record of 2076 was thrown at Hayward at the Pre-Classic in 2023. It feels inevitable, and I really hope it's inevitable because that would be so unbelievably cool if we see the first 21-meter throw since Valerie Adams did it in July of 2012. And you've got the field to do it because you've got those kind of like big 3 up top. You've got the Olympic champ Yemi Ogunleye, who's hasn't, I mean, she didn't have the craziest season last year. It was just competing and peaking when the moment required it to, looking at World Indoors and at the Olympics for Yemi. But she's still been throwing well this year. I wouldn't be surprised, especially if Chase, Sarah, and Jessica throw the way we're kind of expecting them to. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that can pull a 20-meter throw out of Yemi. Madison Lee Weshi, the Olympic silver medalist, is here. You've got Gong Li Zhao. Gong hasn't looked super Gong Li Zhao-esque this year, but she hasn't thrown in a while, I believe. So, and also, it's kind of a similar situation to Anita or Joe Kovacs on the men's side, which we'll get to, where when you have these older throwers, I think Gong is maybe turning 39 this year. They don't necessarily need to be going all out, full force at this point in the season when Worlds are in the middle of September. So, like, Gong isn't going to have any problems, like, qualifying to Worlds or anything. So, I think we're fine letting her take her time. Don't jump to any conclusions because she's going to find a way to be, like, top 5 at Worlds. She's medaled at 9 World Outdoor Championships in a row. That's crazy to think about. That's such a long time. But yeah, so I think Gong this is an important one for her to kind of set a good mark. You've got Maggie Ewan continuously coming back, throwing really well this year. Jada Ross is back in her home circle after breaking 19 for the first time in like 10 months last week in Idaho. That's going to be exciting to see. Fannie Roos is having the best season of her career. And Maya Lesnar, NCAA champion, making her pro debut in Hayward. That's going to be a really fun one to watch. And I think I said it last video. I think Chase has the bye, obviously, but she's going to win USA's like no matter what. And then you feel pretty confident with the way she's been throwing this year about Maggie too. But then for Maya and Jada, NCAA rivals, now competing as pros, I think this is going to be a good little preview of a battle at USA's that could be shaking out for one of those third or fourth spots to Worlds. And so I'm excited to see this one play out. And for Maya, like, she's coming off of throwing 19 at this stadium 3 weeks ago. She's going to need to step it up more if she wants to place well in a field like this. But yeah, I'm excited to see that one. And this is let me see. I think it's a 10-woman field, and maybe a bit optimistic, but like I feel like we could see all 10 women throw 19, which would be crazy. Realistically, I think maybe everyone except Gong and Maya throw 19. That might be a little hater of me, but no, this field is going to be one of the best of the year. It's basically the World Championship final in early July. So get excited for this one because it's going to be good, and it very well could be historic. Women's discus is up next, and dare I say USA's preview. Valerie Allman, Lagi Tasaga Collins, Jaden Ulrich, and you also have NCAA champion Sierra Jackson making her pro debut. She actually, as I was recording this video, she officially announced she won't be using her final season of indoor eligibility, which makes sense because like she's a good shot putter, but not necessarily good enough to warrant pushing off a pro contract for another indoor season. So that's going to be exciting. Basically, all of the heavy hitters minus Veronica Fraley and Erica Beistel, who's been throwing really well this year. So that's exciting. And I guess you could throw Shelby Frank in the mix there too. But yeah, this is going to be a good one. For Val, it's the past couple Diamond Leagues have been a little sketchy for her, kind of leaving it until the last 3 throws, the very last throw. When you look at, what was the most recent Diamond League? Paris? Yeah. When you look at Paris, the very last throw of the entire competition it took for her to keep that win streak alive. But she likes Hayward. She throws really well here. She threw 70 meters in qualifying and the finals of Olympic trials last year. I think Val's got something big in store. And then you've got the usual international suspects, where you've got Jaime Perez, Jorinde Van Klinken, and Sandra Elkasevich. For Jorinde, like she's back in her home turf, and I'm excited to see if she's been like knocking on the door, it feels like, of something really big. She's been just hammering like 64s, 65s, had a 66 or 2 here and there, I think. And it feels like she's knocking on the door of something bigger. And you can tell, like, from the stuff she's been posting on Instagram, like, it's a little frustrating for her right now, which partially exciting because frustration, yet still throwing like 65 meters on the regular is a pretty good sign for what she might be capable of. But yeah, it's just, I'm super, super interested to see what Jorinde is going to have in store. And then more context on the USA throwers is Jaden Ulrich, Paris Olympian last year. Bad day at NCAAs. One of her, distance-wise, I think it's her second worst competition of the last 2 years. And just performance-wise, like, I think she finished 7th, which, like, I can't, especially in an NCAA competition, like, Jaden Ulrich finishing 7th is ridiculous. So I think that's going to be another situation like Mykhaylo, where she's going to be coming in with something to prove, especially as one of the women who made Team USA last year, now, like, she needs to stake a strong claim to kind of build some confidence going into USA's. And, like, she's a 69-meter thrower. Like, she is capable of that. She's a 66-meter thrower on the regular outside Ramona. She is capable of that. And I'm excited to see what's in store for her. And then Loggy coming off of a really good day in Idaho, her first good day in a while. I'm curious to see what she'll be able to do. And for Loggy, like, I wonder if there's, like, any pressure on her, like, until with the bye. Like, I wonder if she feels, like, any pressure until we get to Worlds. I'm kind of curious about that. But, yeah, women's disc is going to be a really, really good one. And I'm super excited. Men's shot is the final event we've got on the docket. And mixed feelings about this one because Ryan Krauser scratched, which is really sad. Hurts my heart a little bit. Concern is very real now, I think. He's got the bye to USA's, or he's got the bye through to Worlds, but he hasn't posted a video. He's been doing some really impressive lifts, as we've seen on his Instagram, but he hasn't posted a video of him actually throwing in a long time, since before the first WSPS at Drake Relays, which is kind of concerning because when I talked to him at the WSPS event in South Carolina, he said, like, yeah, like, lifting is fine. Like, I feel like I'm in really good shape. It's just he can't throw right now with the way his elbow is. And the fact that he hasn't, like, given any hint that he has been throwing, at least I don't think, I might have missed something. That's concerning. And I'm sad. And it really does, like, make me wonder if he's going to compete anywhere before Worlds. Like, he doesn't need to show up to USA's. I don't think. I might actually no, I think he does have to at least show up to USA's. But he can, like, take one throw and then, like, drop out or whatever. So I'm very curious to see kind of what his plans for the rest of the season are. Like, it's genuinely, like, I didn't think he was necessarily going to be throwing at this meet, but the fact that there's not really any signs at all that he, like, has been throwing, that's the part that has me scared. Yikes. Enough doom and gloom. Let's talk about this excellent men's shot put field where we have 8 of the 10 best men in the world this year. The only 2 missing are Jack O'Gill and Zane Weir, but we've got, fresh off his transfer of allegiance to Turkey, Rajendra Campbell, Chuck Enekwechi, Leo Fabry, Joe Kovacs, Trip Pippery, Peyton Otterdahl, Roger Steen, Tom Walsh. Another one where it's essentially a USA's preview between Joe, Trip, Peyton, and Roger. Josh Awatunde, if he starts throwing a little bit better, he could be in the mix there. But you figure those are the 4 guys that are probably going to be battling for 3 spots through to Tokyo. So definitely going to be watching out for that. And Joe Kovacs, who is a 4-time winner of this meet, including the last 2 years, he's currently, by season's best, he's the worst man in the field this year. I don't know if that'll still be the case after this week, but I'm certainly excited to see him try and flip that narrative, I guess. You've got Leo and Peyton are the only 2 22-meter throwers in the world this year, and Leo's been starting to ramp it up. Peyton's been starting to ramp it up. Very excited to watch them go head-to-head. Trip hasn't competed since, I believe it was the Rome Diamond League. Or no, it wasn't the Rome Diamond League. It was a meet in Italy. That was where Leo threw 22.31, and Trip threw 21.96. Huge PB, a shade under 22. He hasn't thrown since then. So I'm excited to see what kind of he's been up to, getting back in the lab. It'll be really fun to see what he has in store for this week. And then, like, Roger's been throwing well. Tom Walsh, I don't think Tom's competed in a little bit, but he's been throwing excellent every time he's been out this year. And then, yeah, Chuck's been throwing really well. Rajendra, same situation with Roger. I mean, he's been dealing with some stuff. Bit of an understatement there. But I'm excited to see him come back out. Like, this field is another one where it's just a world championship final. Minus Ryan Krauser. Which is kind of a big minus to have. But yeah, I'm super excited for this one. I think I'm probably, if I was like trying to pick a winner, I think I'd probably lean Fabry right now just because he's just so good, and we know what his ceiling is, and it feels like he's closer to his ceiling than anyone else in the world right now. And then his like baseline this year has been really good, at least through the last month or so. So I'm excited to see, but like Peyton is not going to let him have it easily. None of these guys are going to let him have it easily. So I'm excited to see what we've got in store. It's going to be a damn good Saturday. Alrighty, you lovely, lovely throws fans. That is all that I've got for you today. Tune in to the 2025 Prefontaine Classic. I have no idea what streaming options look like outside of the U.S. For inside the U.S., I believe it is from like 1 to 4 Eastern time is streaming on like USA TF TV or something, which I don't really know how that works anymore. And then I think 4 to 6 Eastern is the broadcast window on Peacock. They probably won't be showing a ton of the field events, but they'll show like winning throws and whatnot in theory. But yeah, this day is gonna be so insane. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. Is it fair to say the winners of like all of these competitions are the favorite for Worlds? I think it's fair to say, well, I don't think it's really going to change much. Men's disc, you can't say that because Che and Denny aren't in it. Women's disc, Val's going to win, and that's not going to change my opinion at all. I think for men's shot, women's shot, I don't know if you can say women's shot, because even if Sarah like beats Chase and Sarah throws like 2060 and Chase throws like 2050 or something, I still think I would say Chase is the favorite. So maybe not women's shot. Men's hammer, I mean, even if someone beats Ethan, I'm not picking anyone over Ethan. So really, I think it's for women's hammer and men's shot are the two competitions where you look at it and go, the winner on Saturday immediately becomes the world championship favorite. And it's really cool to have a competition like that. And then for anyone else, it's just hopefully building a lot of confidence, because hopefully we'll see everyone throw some really big marks. Real quick, let me run down winner picks. Ethan Katzberg, Leo Fabry, Daniel Stahl. Ooh, mixing it up a little bit. Mykhaylo is going to prove me wrong. God, why am I making predictions again? This always goes terribly for me. Okay, so that's the men. Ethan, Leo, Daniel. The women, Chase, Val, Brooke. I think Cameron won this meet last year. I think this is Brooke's year. I think she's gone 2 years. She won the world championship gold. And then last year, I think she made the final, but she didn't make 2023. I believe she made the final, didn't make top 8 at Worlds. And then last year, she doesn't even make the Olympic team. I think Brooke's tired of that. I think she wants to silence some doubters this weekend, build as much confidence as possible heading into USA's. And I think she comes away with a big win at Hayward. Those are my picks. I'm sure that's exactly what's going to happen. But yeah, that's all I've got for this one. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Follow the podcast on Spotify. Keep up with P. Hoff Mahoney on Twitter if you aren't already, because I will be doing live updates of every one of these events. Poly Throws on Instagram. Saturday is going to be so much fun. And I will see you guys next time.